Okay, YouTube, as you see in the background, I do have the PlayStation 2 on, and I was listening to the Beastie Boys album Ill Communication, which I'm getting ready to review. So this came out in 1994, and probably a little bit less, a little bit around 10 years since their first actual album came out in 1986, which was Licensed to Ill. Now, I reviewed that last summer, and it left a pretty good impression on me because I wanted more of the Beastie Boys. However, the problem with it was, in my opinion, was that the rock rap type stuff that they didn't really do that much afterward. Now I attempted to listen to Hello Nasty in the autumn, and I gave it a bad score because I didn't like all the degrees of different things that they tried. But I have been hearing songs like Intergalactic on the radio, and that's starting to grow on me. So I'm starting to become a lot more affluent with the Beastie Boys singles, and I've been hearing things like No Sleep Till Brooklyn, Brass Monkey, and Fight for Your Right on the radio, which has actually helped it. For me personally, it's helped me starting to like some of the more songs I didn't in the past. Now, I bought License to Ill, and at first the only song I liked was Fight for Your Right, but then the problem with it was is that felt like more of a song for high schoolers. But as it were now, I think people of all ages can kind of vibe with that song, and it's definitely in the rock greats of songs I'll pretty much always listen to. But with this project, Ill Communication, it was backed by one large single, which marked the return to Beastie Boys rap rock, and that is the song Sabotage. Now, this song, best song on the album, despite the fact that there are plenty of other moments that have it. Now, this is kind of an underwhelming album for me, but I did like the styles that they approached on the project and actually did. So, there's 20 songs on here, it's way too many. But the thing is there's several songs that are less than a minute and 30 seconds, and there's a lot of songs that are less than 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and then there's also instrumentals on here. So there's just a bunch of gobbledygook on here. But I think if they would have trimmed a lot of the fat, I know they were being creative, but uh, it it's gonna stand that I think License to Ill is probably the better album, even though this is more refined. So that's kind of the thing you're getting. 8 years after doing that album, of course, them doing rap rock, when you do get it from them, it goes to show that this is obviously a staple, and it's pretty easily meshed, and they're connoisseurs of doing it. But unfortunately, Sabotage is really the only time that they do it. So uh, well, it's not the only time, but it's the only time where they do it for more than 3 minutes. And so I'm going to go to Ill Communication real quick. And so yeah, the other three singles are also great moments. Like I said, I'm starting to like the Beastie Boys singles more than a lot of other things. So Sure Shot kind of is that one's kind of like a jazz song. It has the flute in there, or some sort of flute, and it is also kind of rock based, but it has drums and the rest of it more so than guitar. So that one was not bad. And Get It Together, that one has Q-Tip in there, and that one felt like a Cottonmouth Kings song. Thinking maybe they got some of their influence from the Beastie Boys. Root Down is probably the second best song on here. That one was also a single, and kind of it has like so it yeah, that one has like some form of guitar on there. That's obviously the main thing I was looking for. But it I mean, it's just real low key. That's the thing about it, is it feels kind of low key and it's not as emphasized. But the fact that they do it, I mean, to me, the Beastie Boys seem to really excel at rock, and that's It's strange just because it fits them so well. They have the capabilities to do it, but when we try to switch things up and say, well, let's do this also. I know people like the album Paul's Boutique, but the main thing there was it just depends upon the styles. It's kind of like this is your left hand, this is your right hand. There are these people who like the rock sound, these people who like the funk, jazz, and kind of experimental sound. But it goes to show that what put their highest selling album is Licensed to Ill. So it's worth saying that they should have done more rock songs, should have catered to that audience a lot more. But as it were, I do have respect for all three of the Beastie Boys. The how things sadly turned out. I do have respect for them. They are creative, you know, high arc people. So, but so the rest of this project basically has to do with me, like how many songs I liked out of the remaining 20 songs. I listened to it really quickly, but the thing was I was looking for the rock songs. There was just a lot of mess. I kind of feel like they should have trimmed a lot of the songs that were on here. And when they didn't do that, it just left kind of a mess. So once again, too much stuff. Really the best moments are for the most part in the first half, and they really could have used another song like Sabotage. But I'll list the 6 songs out of 20 that I enjoyed, and I think if you're looking for the rock-based sound, these are easy fits for that at least. And I'm at least glad that they did it because it seemed that they would not return to this sound again, and it's been said that they just went completely experimental from Paul's Boutique forward, but they did at least return to it with Sabotage, and this does have a light rock tint to it. It's just not very strong. So, Sure Shot, all the singles are good. So, if you're just looking for the hits, you won't even notice that Beastie Boys, the album was not super stellar. So, Sure Shot, Root Down, Sabotage, Get It Together, Do It with Biz Markie is another hit on there. That one kind of has like a lazy rock feel to it. And then Sabrosa, the instrumental, I would have liked to have heard Beastie Boys actually on that one. But yeah, there's several instrumentals on here. And the problem with it is there actually was 2 other rock songs, Tough Guy and Heart Attack Man. But both of these are less than 3 minutes, which makes them feel like skits or just interludes more so than actual songs. So Tough Guy is, the shortest song on here, and it's only 57 seconds, which was a huge disappointment because the riff on the song sounded so interesting. And I think that they probably could have chopped like, a song like Eugene's Lament or Flute Loop to make that song longer. We really could have used that. I think if Tough Guy would have been 3 minutes 30 seconds, that would have definitely helped up the score. And same with Heart Attack Man. Heart Attack Man feels even shorter because the rock, it just doesn't last throughout the whole song. So it seems like this complaint has come up before in my Beastie Boys reviews, but this is at least better than Hello Nasty. But they did digitally remaster this, and there's an extra rock song on there, which is Mullet Head, and I would almost pick that up depending upon how much more expensive it was from the original version. But it's just an extra song to consider. They did actually do a little bit more rock, and that one's 3 minutes, so that's something to know. But I'm going to give this album, because I like 6 out of 14, I'm going to give this album, that's about a fourth of the album. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. And the social score I will give like a 6.5 out of 10 because it did have 2 charting singles in addition to 2 extra ones that didn't chart. So I mean, the singles are strong. Like I said, if you just want the singles, you'll never notice that this album isn't that great. But it's the same problem with Hello Nasty, only not as bad. Hello Nasty really only had Intergalactic. The rest of the singles kind of tanked, and there was way too many songs, and really, just everything about that album was a blunder. Yeah, the social score gets a 6.5 out of 10, and that means how well it plays around your friends. This should be pretty easily. This should be a pretty easily. This should be pretty easy to translate. It's really, it's basically um, License to Ill Part DX, or however you say that, DEUX, Part DO, Part DX, and or basically License to Ill 1.5. It's not 2 because it's not the true sequel, but Sabotage and a small handful of other songs help boost this album rather well, or slightly. So, can this record be topped? I think it is by quite a bit, probably by a mile. And the future Beastie Boys has retired. So this is the second album I would say to get if you're similar to my thoughts and you appreciate the rock based sound of Beastie Boys best. This is the second album to get after uh, License to Ill. Third album would be Hello Nasty for Intergalactic and that sort of thing. But I am going to start exploring this more. I definitely appreciate the singles, and all of these are hits. It's just a question of the full album doing that. It's just not a classic album. Subscribe for more fun.